Changes for Felicity, A Winter Story by Valerie Tripp. Chapter 1, A Cardinal and a Bluebird. "Would you like another tart?" asked Felicity Merriman. It was a bright January afternoon. Felicity and her best friend, Elizabeth Cole, were playing with their dolls in the Merriman sunny garden. "Yes, thank you, Miss Merriman," said Elizabeth politely. She took 2 of the brown twigs Felicity offered her, one for herself and one for her doll Charlotte. "You do make the most elegantly delicious tarts." "That's kind of you to say, Miss Cole," said Felicity with a grin. "But I'm afraid these tarts are overdone." She snapped a twig in 2 with a crack. "I like crisp tarts," laughed Elizabeth, "and so does Charlotte." "Upon my word," said a voice. The girls looked up and saw Felicity's grandfather standing at the garden fence. "It is Felicity in her red cloak and Elizabeth in her blue cloak. I thought you 2 young ladies were a cardinal and a bluebird perched on that garden bench. What a pleasant sight to see!" "Grandfather!" called Felicity. She and Elizabeth gathered up their dolls and hurried over to him. "Good day, sir," said Elizabeth. She made a little curtsy. Grandfather bowed. "Good day, Elizabeth," he said. He nodded at the dolls. "Will you ladies do me the honor of introducing me to your friends?" The girls looked at each other and giggled. "Oh, Grandfather," said Felicity. "You remember my doll Susanna Maria Augusta Eliza Lucy Louise?" "Ah, yes indeed," said Grandfather, "but somehow I can never remember her name. That is, I can't remember all of her name." "My doll's name is Charlotte," said Elizabeth. "Charlotte," said Grandfather. "Is she named after Queen Charlotte, the wife of King George, ruler of England and all the colonies?" "Yes," said Elizabeth. "Then this is indeed an honor," said Grandfather. "She is loyal to the king. There aren't many of us loyalists left. Some are in jail, some have fled to England, and some have changed their minds and become patriots." He looked at Elizabeth sadly. "Your family and I are among the last loyalists." "Aye, sir," said Elizabeth. Felicity was quiet. Her father supported the patriots. So did Ben, his apprentice. They didn't think the king should rule the colonies any more. "Well," said Grandfather briskly, "it's too sunny today to talk about cloudy subjects. I've been in Williamsburg for 3 weeks. It's been rainy and I've had a cold ever since I arrived. This is the first day I've been able to be outdoors. Would you ladies like to come with me while I inspect my horse Penny? I must be sure she is being well cared for." Grandfather pretended to look stern, which made the girls laugh out loud. Grandfather knew that no horse in Virginia was better cared for than Penny. More than a year ago, Felicity had secretly befriended Penny and then helped her run away from Jiggy Nye, the cruel man who had claimed to own her. Felicity and Penny found each other again in the summer, while Felicity was visiting Grandfather's plantation. Grandfather bought Penny and allowed Felicity to bring her beloved horse back to Williamsburg with her. "I think you will be pleased with Penny," said Felicity. She led Grandfather and Elizabeth into the stable behind the Merriman's house. It smelled of horse's leather and straw. "She's not skittish any more, and she's stout and healthy." Felicity handed her doll to Elizabeth. Then she backed Penny out of her stall. Penny stood calmly while Grandfather patted her neck and stroked her sides. "Stout indeed," said Grandfather in a pleased voice. "Penny is going to have a foal this spring." "Oh!" gasped Felicity and Elizabeth together. "How wonderful!" said Felicity. "When will the foal be born?" "It can't be certain," said Grandfather, "but I think Penny will be ready to foal in 2 or 3 months." Felicity stroked Penny's neck and asked, "Will she be all right, Grandfather? Will it harm her to have a foal?" "Penny is young and strong," said Grandfather. "She should come through the birthing well, as long as there are no unusual problems." "Oh, Grandfather," said Felicity, "I hope you'll be here in Williamsburg when the foal is born. I won't know what to do when it happens." "I shall try to be here," said Grandfather, "but your father and Marcus know very well how to help Penny. Indeed, they've known for a long while that Penny is with foal. They wanted me to have the pleasure of telling you." He coughed and cleared his throat. "It is too cold in the stable for my old bones. Shall we go inside now and tell your mother the news about Penny?" "Aye," said Felicity. She led Penny into her stall and gave her one last hug. Then she followed Grandfather and Elizabeth to the house, smiling to herself. "Penny is going to have a foal," she thought. "What a wonderful spring this will be." Mother, Nan, and William were sitting by the fire in the parlor. Mother held baby Polly in her arms. Polly was a month old. She was a plump, rosy baby with sky blue eyes and hair as orange as carrots. Nan held the fire screen to protect Polly's face from the heat of the fire, and William was making a jumping jack dance to amuse her. The baby waved her tiny arms and gurgled. "Mother," exclaimed Felicity, "Penny is going to have a foal in the spring. Grandfather just told us. Isn't it wonderful?" "Aye," agreed Mrs. Merriman. "It is very fine indeed." "A foal?" said Nan. "Oh, Lizzie, how lovely!" "May I ride it?" asked William. "May I ride the foal?" "You'll have to wait for the foal to grow a bit first, William," said Mother. "Perhaps you can help Felicity care for it." "Aye," said Grandfather. "Felicity will have to give it a lot of good care." "Felicity has been a wonderful help taking care of her baby sister," said Mother. "I'm sure she'll do a fine job with Penny's foal, too." "Oh, I love taking care of Polly," said Felicity. "And I'll love caring for Penny's foal. I can't wait till it's born. It's such a happy thing to look forward to." Grandfather took baby Polly from Mother's arms. "Nothing is happier than a new life starting," he said. He kissed the baby's round cheek. "Nothing is sweeter than a baby. Isn't that right, Polly?" Polly cooed, and Mother smiled. "Mother," said Felicity, "may Elizabeth and I go to the store and tell Ben? He'll be so pleased to hear about Penny's foal." "You may go," said Mrs. Merriman, "but remember to put on your pattens. The streets are dreadfully muddy from all the rain we've had." "Yes, Mother," said Felicity. She tickled Polly under her soft chin, and then she and Elizabeth left. Felicity's pattens lifted her feet above the mud, but it was hard to run or skip while wearing them. So Felicity and Elizabeth walked as quickly as they could to Mr. Merriman's store. The streets of Williamsburg were crowded these days. Men from all over the colony were coming to Williamsburg to join the army that was forming to fight against the king's soldiers. Mr. Merriman's store was full of customers. Many of the men wore dark fringed hunting shirts that were the uniform of Virginia soldiers. The store smelled of spices and soap and wood smoke. Felicity grinned. She loved her father's store, especially when it was full of people and noise and activity, as it was today. Sometimes lately, when the store was very busy, Mr. Merriman let Felicity work there. She always felt proud and very grown up when she stood behind the counter. "Maybe I can help out today," she thought. Elizabeth tugged at her sleeve and pointed toward the back of the store. "There's Ben," she said. "He's helping that tall man." Both girls waved. Ben nodded to them and came over as soon as he was free. "How may I help you ladies today?" he asked. "Ben," exclaimed Felicity, "we have the most wonderful news. Penny is going to have a foal this spring." "A foal?" said Ben. He smiled. "Good for Penny. Her foal will be the finest in all of Virginia, I'm sure." Mr. Merriman joined them with a laugh. "So, your grandfather told you the news about Penny," he said. "I knew you'd be happy, Lissy. No one loves horses more than you do." He turned to Ben and said, "That reminds me, Ben. Have you delivered the currycombs Mr. Pelham ordered for his horses?" "No, sir," said Ben. "Not yet." "I know you have been busy," said Mr. Merriman, "but 'tis bad to make Mr. Pelham wait." "We'll do it," Felicity offered. "Elizabeth and I can make the delivery for you, Father." "Very well," said Mr. Merriman. "I might have known that you would volunteer when you heard there were horses involved." He handed Felicity a bundle wrapped in paper. "Mr. Pelham will pay you. Bring the money back to me." Just then someone called for Mr. Merriman. "Ben and I had better go back to work," he said. "Thank you for your help, girls."